So anyway, on to another topic, and this one I think is quite fascinating, and I'm really curious on your take on it because you know more about the space than I do. But Cockroach Labs, which is, I guess, technically a formerly open source company. I think they technically moved away from
Yes.
open
Hmm.
source, at least in full, 4 or 5 years ago. But they've been, as many open source companies, that this is not a slam on Cockroach at all. I think, first of all, whoever named them, I just don't get that name. But
Oh, it's a
you
great
can't
name.
kill it, I
We'll get
guess,
into
is
that.
okay. You can tell me, but maybe it's because I live in New York and I just have the complete visceral hate of cockroaches. But the as many companies have attempted to monetize from an open source model, I think they've struggled a little bit, and so they have this new approach, which is fascinating. And if I'm, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm understanding this right, basically they're saying if you have more than $10 million in annual revenue, now you have to pay for it. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure how they validate that, or if that's just the honor system or what. And it's certainly a unique, at least I haven't heard of anyone taking that sort of an approach, because under 10 million is free, right? That's like, I've heard people like
Mhm.
stepstones, right? If based on total revenue or whatever, but not where the bottom rung is free. And then this other. So I mean, what's your take? Is a smart move? Do you know more about how this is going to work out?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've been a fan of Cockroach for a few years now. It is basically you pick Cockroach Labs to do one thing. You want to scale out a database and never have to worry that it's going to break. That's why it's Cockroach Labs. You can step on it, you can try to kill it, you can try to overwhelm it all you want, and it'll just keep on going. Like it is fantastic from that perspective. It's just a database that works and you don't have to worry about the challenges of how hard is this to manage or administrate the same way that you would have to say with something like Oracle, which obviously is much more complex of a product in some respects. But Cockroach Labs just works. Cockroach works DB. But as for the pricing itself, I think they've struggled to figure out how to translate that value into money. So their latest approach is now saying, okay, we're only because they want the startup business, and frankly, they want the startup businesses to just grow. That's the entire reason that Cockroach exists in the first place, because you needed this cheap database that anybody could start using that could help you grow to X amount. But they're deciding that unless you are over 10 million in revenue, we're not going to charge you. And then after 10 million, we're going to charge you based on the number of CPUs you're using so that we can price based on that scale out capability that we are fantastic at. The so that concept is not a bad one. I still struggle with how this actual monetization is going to go. It does feel like it's an honor system, and frankly, there's no real reason that most companies would have honor when it comes to their IT spend. So I find that part interesting. Maybe Cockroach has a bunch of clients that they've already identified that that have said that they would be willing to pay, and if that's the case, more power to them. I just find it seems very optimistic from a business practice perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I don't understand is why not just have a paid model? I guess, I hear what you're saying as far as they want the early stage startups, and 10 million is a pretty low threshold, right? You're a pretty young startup before when you're still crossing 10 million. So maybe that part makes sense, but I guess, and unless you have, um, the way most organizations do it is it's like, oh, you can use this on X number of CPUs, right? And that's
Mhm.
the cap, and it's much more easier to control. But I don't know. I mean, and to me, it's a great experiment. They're clearly, one thing that has been true about them from the beginning is that they're very committed to the space. They're committed to the startup community. They're committed to the open source community, and so from that context, this ethos makes sense. And so I hope it works for them. I hope it'll be very curious to see how this all plays out. Um, and if it does, we could see others follow suit. So
Yeah, I feel like one of the big
having
struggles
fun.
with open source in general is that there tends to be only one real way to monetize, which is through services like Red Hat does. But what happens if you create a great open source product that also doesn't require a huge amount of maintenance? Because you did such a great job of designing it in the first place. That's the problem that Cockroach is in right now. They want to do the right thing, but obviously they have to literally pay their bills.
Yeah, I mean, it's either services or support, and to your point, they've sort of, they designed too good of a product. It doesn't take a whole lot of services, doesn't take a whole lot of support. It just runs, and that's great for them, but it's bad for them. And so,
Mhm.